Before we get started, just a notice that I'd like to read here. This board meeting is being live streamed for the convenience of the public at www.okaloosa Schools. The public may participate in the public comment portions of the meeting by either personal attendance or by calling the school board meeting public participation phone line. A separate seating area has been set aside for the press and public who are in attendance at the meeting in accordance with social distancing guidelines as provided by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. If calling into the meeting, you should call 850-833-3100. The phone lines will be operational beginning at 6 p.m. on the night of the board meeting, and callers will be transferred into the board meeting during the public comment portion and/or public hearing portion of the meeting only, in the order in which calls are received. If you are calling into the meeting to make public comment, please be patient as there may be a wait time while being transferred into the meeting. And in accordance with the governor's directive for having public meetings, we do have one school board member who is going to be participating by phone, and that's Dr. Lamar White, and all other board members are present tonight, as well as the superintendent and our attorney, Mr. McInnes. So with that being said, we'll move down to approval of the agenda. Item 2.1, changes to the agenda and approval of the agenda, and we do have one change, 9.6, which is a correction to the subject of item 9.6, reflects the removal of the word addendum and should be master contract between the school board of Okaloosa County and the Okaloosa education staff professionals, as this was a full contract year and is not an addendum. The information in the item and attachments are all correct. So with that being said, I need a motion to approve the agenda.
I will move the approval of the agenda as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Destin. I need a second, please.
I'll second.
Second by Dr. Kelly. Any discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Ivanchek, how do you vote?
Yes.
Dr. Kelly, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Destin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Dr. White, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I vote yes, and it carries 5-0. So we'll go down to, we have no recognitions, no visitors, no administrative personnel appointments, and we are at public comment. 6.1, members of the public desiring to address the school board, Form MIS 5241, public input and/or discussion of agenda items. Okay, we do have two that will be calling in. Okay. Are they in person? Are they in person or on the phone? Mr. McInnes, while we're waiting, could you please explain the rules real quick? If you,
Yes, if you're speaking for the board tonight, you'll have 4 minutes to make your presentation.
okay, Mr. McInnes will be keeping the time. Is it coming in through
I
here?
think it's
I think
coming
you're
on.
transferring it into
that
the
one.
wrong telephone. Okay, it comes into extension 65886. Correct.
Okay, there we go.
Okaloosa School Board public comment line. Please state your name and address
for the record.
Sure. This is Josh Ashley at 1107 North Bayshore Drive in Valparaiso.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Ashley.
Okay. Thanks for taking my call. When this school board forced loaded weapons into kindergarten classrooms against the will of many parents, we were told that school safety was the #1 priority of the school board, that we couldn't accomplish any learning unless we could first establish a safe environment. Tonight, I ask that you remember and honor that pledge as you consider policies like masks as we move forward with the school year. This is not a zombie apocalypse, and all the armed school teachers in the county won't be able to shoot this virus. But we are not helpless in the face of the pandemic. At this point, we have a pretty good well of evidence, and we do have effective weapons. They're called non-pharmaceutical interventions and consist of behavioral and social modifications like social distancing, frequent hand washing, facial coverings, and many more. I know you've implemented several of these, and I thank you for what you've done, but it's not enough. A few weeks ago, I called to ask you to consider a hybrid system to allow for greater social distancing, and I'm dismayed that you've chosen not to make it the standard for most students. But instead, it sounds like a blended model will just be another option for edge cases. We need a unified strategy if we're going to reopen our schools safely and give our students equal educational opportunities. And on that note, the main thing I wanted to talk about tonight is masks. We have mounting evidence that they work and greatly reduce transmission rates. This should not be about personal choice or whatever excuse is being thrown around to politicize public health, because the primary function of a mask is to prevent an asymptomatic carrier from unknowingly spreading it. My mask protects you, and your mask protects me. We have a dress code in this county. It's not a personal choice to wear shoes to school. We have regulations on how long shorts should be, how wide shoulder straps should be. We have mandatory rules against sagging pants. We have vague rules against extreme hairstyles and maximum length rules for facial hair. And most embarrassingly of all in our current situation, the district dress code has an outright ban against bandanas of any kind. In fact, this is the only part of the dress code that I can see which is underlined for emphasis. That particular rule should be temporarily repealed and should be replaced with a temporary dress code requirement for facial masks in all school environments where appropriate social distancing cannot be maintained. For example, in school hallways. I honestly don't understand how we can police tank tops and extreme hairstyles in good conscience without having a sensible mask policy as part of the dress code in the midst of a global pandemic. Because we've slightly delayed the school year, we now have the benefit of hindsight from other, less wise school districts, which have decided to experiment on their children and teachers. Across Georgia, school districts have been opening up with no staggered schedules and no masks, and the results have been predictable, sadly. I'm sure you're all aware what happened in North Paulding, Georgia over the last week, where the school is now forced to close mere days into the semester after multiple cases of COVID-19. We can and must do everything we can to avoid repeating those mistakes. We all want schools to be open, and masks are one of our best available tools for keeping them open as long as possible. Please consider adding them to the dress code for as long as necessary. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ashley. Okay, Mr. Keith, we have another.
Okay, go ahead and send the next one in. Jan, do you copy?
Okaloosa School Board Public Comment Line. Please state your name and address for the record. You're live with the board.
My name is Christine Muto. My address is 345 Racetrack Road.
Okay, proceed, please.
Good evening, school board members and Superintendent Chambers. I would like to discuss when Mr. Chambers mentioned that he'd like teachers and faculty to set a good example of face masking and stated that mask usage be strongly encouraged. Seeing as how wearing a mask is a medical intervention, I'm curious if the school district has considered what OSHA has to say when an employer requires mask usage. I understand that required and strongly encouraged are two different things, but I would like the district to consider the age of consent when a mask is offered to a young child and may not fully grasp the intricacies of their own medical history. Also, are teachers going to enforce proper donning and doffing procedures set forth by the CDC? What considerations or information will the district provide for when a mask should be removed? For instance, outside temperature or humidity. Our body has several methods and mechanisms on how we can cool ourselves down, such as sweating. However, one of them is also breathing out hot air. So if we're increasing our work of breathing and we're breathing through a mask in the heat and the humidity, and we're unable to exhale that hot air, this is where overheating and heat strokes can occur. I'm sure we've all been outside today. It feels like we're in a jungle. This is an undisputed fact. And I want to also address the moisture content of these fashionable cloth masks. Will teachers be checking them? What about when the moisture is combined with dust, or when the moisture combines with mold spores, which we know are present in some of our schools? I think we will soon find out just what happens when children are asked to breathe through a petri dish for more than 5 hours a day. I've already heard from 2 parents where masks have triggered seizures. Also, and this pains me to say, but I've also witnessed children at school who aren't wearing clean clothes, let alone a clean mask. Will the district plan on asking kids when their mask was last washed? Do they expect to receive an accurate answer? I know some children will wait until their mask begins to stink before they toss it in the wash. I would ask that Mr. Chambers change his stance from strongly encouraged to just plain optional. I do hope that those making these decisions have read up on the randomized controlled trials regarding mask usage and what the measurable outcomes reflect. Where there is risk involved, decisions such as strongly encouraging masks must be evidence-based, especially for children. Where there is risk, there must be choice, and that choice needs to be made clear to the student population. I would like to read through some of the mandatory questions that OSHA asks before they determine who is fit or unfit to wear a mask. These things include, do you suffer from seizures? Do you have diabetes? Do you have allergic reactions that interfere with your breathing? Do you have claustrophobia? Do you suffer from asthma or chronic bronchitis, pneumonia? These are just a few things that they want to know. Do you have history of heart attacks? These would be questions maybe for our teachers. Do you have high blood pressure or a heart arrhythmia?
30 seconds.
Pain or tightness in your chest during physical activity? Heartburn or indigestion that's not related to eating? Breathing or lung problems?
Okay. Ma'am, you have 15 seconds.
Hello?
You have 15 seconds.
Okay. Do you have weakness or back pain? We also can't account for what conditions the children are living in using their masks at home and then bring them into the school environment. All these things need to be considered before we strongly encourage medical intervention. These teachers are not nurses. They're not doctors. Parents need to make the choice for their children, and children need to be included and not shamed for wearing or not wearing a mask. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for calling in tonight. Dustin, let them know they have 4 minutes. Yeah, go ahead, let them know.
Okaloosa School Board public comment line. Please state your name.
Yes,
Tell her.
Carrie Lindsay, Karri, last name Lindsay, Lindsey.
And your address for the record.
21408 West 54th Street
Okay.
in Shawnee, Kansas.
Okay, and you have 4 minutes to speak to the board. You're live with the board now.
Hi, my name is Carrie Lindsay, and I am from Kansas. I actually had reached out to Mr. Chambers last week. I know that I'm not part of the current school district, but I am from a school district in Kansas that is mandating masks from our governor. So she didn't give our school boards the opportunity to discuss what was best for our children. So I'm hoping to talk to you while you still have this on your agenda to say how horrible it is that I have a kindergartner that is going to be forced, if she wants to go to school and be with friends and learn in an environment that this country was built around, to have to cover her face every day for 6 hours. It's a very emotional topic for me, and it makes me so sad. I had a senior last year who didn't get to go to prom, who had a graduation, and every single student was required to wear a mask across the stage. I don't know if this is political or not political, but I do follow the numbers. I follow the numbers. In Kansas, we've had one death under the age of 18. One death. The numbers in Florida are decreasing. And what I'm asking is that you consider to please, you are one of the only counties in the United States, and trust me, I have searched and searched and searched, that are actually giving parents a choice. I just ask that you please consider making them recommended, but not required. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you for calling in all the way from Kansas. Thank you.
Okay, Jan, are you ready for the next one? Okay, thank you.
No call. Okay. Well, we're going to wait just because there's a 30-second delay. We're good. Okay, so we're going to move on down to section 7, and this was workshop only. And 7.2 was an update on reopening schools. If you would like to see that part, it is on our Thursday workshop. Now we'll move down to consent agenda, section 8. So I need an approval of the consent agenda.
Move we approve, Chairman.
Mr. Destin makes the motion to approve. Do I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Second by Dr. Kelly.
I'll second.
Thank you, Dr. White. Excuse me, do we have any discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Savanchek, how do you vote?
Yes.
Dr. Kelly, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Destin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Dr. White, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I vote yes. The motion carries 5-0. So let's move down to section 9, Superintendent's Human Resource Recommendations. 9.1 and 9.2 are informational only. So we'll go to 9.3, Cleared Certification Requirements and Issuance of Contracts for the 2020-2021 school year. I need a motion to approve.
I'll move it.
Ms. Savanchek makes a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Destin seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Savanchek, how do you vote?
Yes.
Dr. Kelly, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Destin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Dr. White, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I vote yes. The motion carries 5-0. 9.4, out of field report for the 2020-2021 school year. I need a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion.
Dr. Kelly makes the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Ms. Savanchek. Any discussion?
I'd just like to make one comment for the public's information.
Yes, ma'am.
On out of field. I think maybe when some people hear that, they may think, why are we letting these teachers work without credentials? That is not the case. Throughout the time, the legislature and the Department of Education come through with adding new pieces that have to come in. And in recent years, it's been for ESOL students and also for ESE. And so many of this, when you look at this, and I appreciate what Dr. Hale and his group have done because they've separated it out now. There's a big difference in a person not having a certificate, say, to teach math, and they're teaching math, then they're just needing to complete some requirements to add that ESOL or ESE piece to that. So I just want the public to be aware. And so they've shown that now to us, and I think that's a very good thing so we can see. But we have very highly credentialed teachers in our district, and so I want the public to be aware of that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Vancheck. Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Vancheck, how do you vote?
Yes.
Dr. Kelly, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Destin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Dr. White, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I vote yes, the motion carries 5-0. So we're now to 9.5, addendum to the master contract between the School Board of Okaloosa County and the Okaloosa County Education Association. I need a motion to approve, please.
Move we approve.
So moved. Thank you, Mr. Destin makes the motion to approve. A second?
I'll second.
Second by Dr. Kelly. Any discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Vancheck, how do you vote?
Yes.
Dr. Kelly, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Destin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Dr. White, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I vote yes, the motion carries 5-0. 9.6, master contract between the School Board of Okaloosa County and the Okaloosa Education Staff Professionals. I need a motion to approve, please.
I'll move it.
Ms. Vancheck makes the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second, Dr. Kelly. Any discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Vancheck, how do you vote?
Yes.
Dr. Kelly, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Destin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Dr. White, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I vote yes, the motion carries 5-0. 9.7, proposed fiscal year 2020-2021 salary schedules for administrative, managerial, professional and technical, and temporary personnel. I need a motion to approve, please.
So moved.
Mr. Destin makes the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second, Ms. Vancheck. Any discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Vancheck, how do you vote?
Yes.
Dr. Kelly, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Destin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Dr. White, how do you vote?
Yes. Yes.
And I vote yes, the motion carries 5-0. 9.8, employment separations. I need a motion to approve.
Also move.
Dr. Kelly makes the motion. Do I have a second, please?
I'll second it.
Ms. Vancheck seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Vancheck, how do you vote?
Yes.
Dr. Kelly, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Destin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Dr. White, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I vote yes, the motion carries 5-0. 9.9, personnel recommendations. I need a motion to approve, please.
I'll move.
Ms. Vancheck makes the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second, Dr. Kelly. Any discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Vancheck, how do you vote?
Yes.
Dr. Kelly, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Destin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Dr. White, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I vote yes, the motion carries 5-0. 9.10, employee transfers. I need a motion to approve.
Move we approve.
Mr. Destin makes the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And second, Dr. Kelly. Any discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Vancheck, how do you vote?
Yes.
Dr. Kelly, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Destin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Dr. White, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I vote yes, the motion carries 5-0. 9.11, reinstatement, reimbursement of sick leave due to line of duty illness, injury, medical examination. I need a motion to approve.
Move we approve.
Mr. Destin makes the motion to approve. Do I have a second, please?
I'll second it.
Ms. Vancheck makes the second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Vancheck, how do you vote?
Yes.
Dr. Kelly, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Destin, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Dr. White, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I vote yes, the motion carries 5-0. 9.12, leave without pay. I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Mr. Destin makes the motion. Do I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Dr. Kelly makes the second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Vancheck, how do you vote?
Yes.
Dr. Kelly, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Destin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Dr. White, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I vote yes, the motion carries 5-0. Discussion agenda, there was no items moved from the consent agenda, and we are down to 11, construction program owners representative business. And Mr. Destin, you are up, sir.
Thank you, Chairman. I think you've been provided with the agenda from this morning's meeting, and we are proceeding well on all the projects that we had started a certain time period ago, the Niceville High School roofs, the district-wide school security upgrade, all of those things are going very, very well and close to schedule. For us, the elementary course to pick up that we started over a year ago now has been so far very successful. No problems there. Baker School, of course, that is where we're tearing things out and putting stuff back in, and that one is slow and expensive, but we are making good progress there. The stadium at Choctawhatchee has just a little bit more to go. Pryor Middle School's kitchen renovation is still in the design stage. Longwood, we have made some very good progress on the corridor construction and site fencing, and we anticipate the great majority of that will be done before school opens back up. And then we have fixed the roof on Kenwood, the dining roof, and then there was another section that had gone bad, and it is also taken care of. Now, the repairs to Jack Foster Stadium are at the stage now where we are awaiting the engineer's design fix, at which point then we can get a price and we will be able to move forward. And I think Dr. Smith is trying to do his best to get that engineered design shortly, and so that we will be able to get that underway. It's very similar to what was in Choctaw Stadium with some slight variances, but we hope that the fix will be similar and can be accomplished in a timely fashion. And I think that covers it. We are still working on Meg's school parking that is necessitated by the fact that we've put in fences and done a number of other things. So we're making good progress on all our projects.
Thank you, Mr. Destin, for the report. And Dr. Smith is in the audience. Thank you, Dr. Smith. So now we do have 2 action items, so we'll move to 11.2, TPM Program Number 6, Task Order Number 8, Scope Modification, Owner-Directed Change Order for Kenwood Elementary School Kitchen Dining Roof Replacement. I need a motion to approve, please.
So moved.
Mr. Destin makes a motion. Do I have a second, please?
I'll second it.
Second by Ms. Savanchek. Any discussion?
I just wanted to ask something about that. I know it's the roof, but as we're approaching school, that shouldn't cause any problem with the delay of using that facility, should it?
My understanding it's already done.
Hey, good answer. Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other discussion? Okay. Hearing none. Ms. Savanchek, how do you vote?
Yes.
Dr. Kelly, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Destin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Dr. White, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I vote yes. The motion carries 5-0. So we're at 11.3 is Partial Shared Savings, Jacobs L3 Capital Outlay Program 6, Task Order 2, and I need a motion to approve.
As we discussed at the workshop, Chairman, this is around a $1.2 million savings. And at the moment, the discussion is to put it back to the school security, since that's where it was originally found. So I will move that we approve 11.3.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Destin makes a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Dr. Kelly makes a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Savanchek, how do you vote?
Yes.
Dr. Kelly, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Destin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Dr. White, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I vote yes. The motion carries 5-0. So we're now at Section 12, Information Technology Seat Management Contract, and we do have 2 items there. We'll start with 12.1, Task Order Number 2-164, Niceville High School Choice Classrooms Audio, Video Install, and Demo. I need a motion to approve, please.
I'll move.
Ms. Savanchek makes a motion to accept,
I'll second.
and Dr. Kelly makes the second. Do I hear any discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Savanchek, how do you vote?
Yes.
Dr. Kelly, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Destin, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Dr. White, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I vote yes. The motion carries 5-0. 12.2, Task Order Number 2-165, Bruner Middle School Computer Labs. I need a motion to approve.
I'll move we approve.
Mr. Destin makes a motion. Do I have a second, please?
I'll second it.
I give it to Ms. Savanchek.
Sorry.
No, it's good. Ms. Savanchek makes the second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Savanchek, how do you vote?
Yes.
Dr. White, or Dr. Kelly, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Mr. Destin, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Dr. White, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I vote yes, the motion carries 5-0. So we are now at Attorney's Business, Section 13. Mr. McInnes, anything that you would
No
like?
report tonight.
Okay. Now we are at Section 14, Superintendent's Business. Mr. Chambers, you're up.
Thank you, sir. And as you know, on Thursday, we spent some time on the reopening schools update, which I appreciate the ability to share where we are right now in the school district. I do just want to briefly just reiterate just the appreciation of all the employees, whether it be principals, teachers, front office staff, district staff, maintenance facilities, everybody coming together, working extremely hard and diligently in order to be prepared for the start of school on August 31st. So that is something that is truly appreciated. I know by myself, and I know all of you as well. And then I will say, any time when you look at, what's before us once again, and everyone uses the word unprecedented, and just the way that people step up and doing things, above and beyond, it's just something that I couldn't be prouder of. So I just appreciate the work of our employees and what they're doing each day. So thank you.
All right. Anything else, Mr. Chambers?
That is it.
Okay, so we are at Section 15, Board Members' Announcements, and I will start with Mr. Destin tonight.
Nothing tonight, Chairman.
Okay, and Dr. White, I'll go to you next, sir.
Not tonight, thank you.
Okay, and Ms. Ivanchek.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Chambers, just want to ask you, I know Ms. Lightbourne said they're going to do a newsletter, a curriculum newsletter? Yes, okay, yeah, I'm eager to see that. Okay, thank you, sir. Okay. The next thing I wanted to talk about, a couple of things. It's always great when we have students out there doing some great things. I know that a lot of things have been pushed to the side with our current situation, but there is an outstanding young lady at Fort Walton Beach High School. Her name is Cambry Smith, and she's didn't do this as a member of the Fort Walton Beach cross-country team or track team, but she is on another team. And just last week, she went to Satellite Beach, Florida, and in her age division, ran a 3,000-meter run, and she ended up being a National Junior Olympic Games champion. So this is great. I was talking with Mr. Destin about it because she did that 3,000-meter run in 10 minutes, 31 seconds, and a little change. And I think it takes me about that long to get out to my car from here. But I am very impressed, and we want to, we know that our students are still out there doing some great things, so we want to congratulate her. She has been a 2-year in a row Daily News cross-country student athlete of the year. So I know that Mr. Spolsky and those at Fort Walton are glad to see her coming back. She'll be a senior, so that's really good. So congratulations to Ms. Smith. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ivanchek. And Dr. Kelly.
Well, I would just like to say congratulations to our colleagues at Rocky Bayou School for starting today, and I know that they had a good start. I saw some comments on Facebook today about that, so congratulations to our colleagues there. And I will continue to advocate for the wearing of masks until Dr. Chapman advises otherwise. I truly she's always had my high regard and respect, but certainly she saw us through SARS. I think I was principal at Bruner Middle School with that outbreak, and certainly she has continued to earn my highest regard through this. So I appreciate that. And just on a last note, I've spoken to several of our teachers who are so excited and working on getting their rooms ready and collecting materials, and I've been very fortunate to adopt a couple of those classrooms and to be able to provide supplies for them. So I'm just excited to see them back in their element because that's where they're happiest. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Kelly. Okay, so now we're at Section 16, and this is the 2-minute portion of public comment. And this is 16.1, members of the public desiring to address the school board, Form MIS 5241, public input and/or discussion of agenda items. And we do have a 30-second delay because if we do have somebody calling in, they're 30 seconds behind us, so we'll wait. Okay, so Ms. Gallen, do you have anything? Ms. Lightborn? Dr. Hale? Mr. Horton? This meeting's adjourned.